Hi guys, boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Just going to check I'm live on Facebook. And once again, hi guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Being pedantic, I want to say, for some reason, due to my patterns, I want to say hey for part 1 and then hi for part 2, and then hey again and then hi for part 3 and 4 respectively. Something a bit strange, I don't know, one of my quirks, my weird sort of traits. As I said before, I'm not saying I am autistic, but I do have some really weird traits, even if I admit to myself. Yeah, just because I has 2 letters in it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense. But time has eluded me today. I was like getting distracted and whatever. And for whatever reason, time has eluded me. I suppose by the time I had something to eat, watched a bit of YouTube, tried to avoid listening to too much music and watching too much YouTube or whatever and that kind of thing. And all that jazz. Time, as I say, has eluded me. So not even sure I'm going to get around to part 3 tonight, let alone part 4. But it is what it is, as they say. I am a bit wary about like running out of time or whatever. But tomorrow I'm thinking I don't know how much content I've got to cover for Wednesday. But as well as see how it goes. Hopefully lots of ideas will come flooding to me and I'll get around to finishing unfinished business. But yeah, I've got to get the balance right between catching up on lost time and not making too many videos. But anyway, this is part 2, and these are pointers number 11 to 20. As ever, please do like and share the video if you'd be so kind, especially with any autistic people, autistic families, people interested in discussing autistic empowerment. I know I'm not really probably sharing that much information rather than just ideas, but in the comment section on Facebook and or YouTube, people are free to, in fact, I welcome people to type up your own ideas and your own thoughts and knowledge about autism, especially autistic people themselves, autistic experts and whatnot. Maybe people like body language experts might even pick up it, or my tone of voice or whatever, if I have any autistic traits that people can think of. Or if I'm just a madman, if I'm just mad, probably that's just as likely to be true. But I wasn't sure where to go into stuff about football, but I might talk about that tomorrow or a bit later. But anyway, here goes. So number 11, after talking about how I'd love to change perception of autism across Africa, Asia, and around the world. One of the things I want to focus on this month as well is Asian empowerment, which I hope to focus on in May and June as well. But also across Africa and around the world, across the Americas and elsewhere, like changing perceptions and also helping autistic people to change perceptions about themselves, like see what they can do. I talk about entrepreneurship and that kind of thing, autistics in business, autistics in banking, technology, and all sorts of things like that. So hopefully autistic people have more confidence and be part of a community which can help them to utilize their strengths and skills by working together. For instance, like, again, I don't know if I'm autistic or not, but I am an ideas person, but I'm not very good at putting things into action and going from ideas and dreaming, daydreaming, to actually finding a way to put my ideas into action, which I try to do so in my videos and my writing and whatever. But at least I give it a go, I guess. But if I can network with people who are good at doing stuff like that, and I love to do so through the atypical group, I love to, or neurodivergent group, or whatever you want to call it, I love to network with autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, dyspraxic, dyscalculic, dysgraphic, and any other type of learning disabled group, or whatever term you want to use, special people to network together. So those who are good at, who are more practical or good with their hands or whatever, could complement my weaknesses, if you like, or whatever, or compensate for my weaknesses. We could help each other compensate for each other's weaknesses and whatnot. But moving on, point number 12, I think it'd be cool if autistic people trained together, like going to the gym, going for walks, improving diets, and just general training. Maybe sometimes you need that push to improve diets. I know I'm very rebellious, just like many autistic people are with their diets. I'm very rebellious with my diet. But yeah, training together, encouraging each other, and that kind of thing. Again, networking together, inspiring each other and whatnot. Number 13, I'd love to know about some of the troubles and challenges that autistic people face. Number 14, troubleshooting. I'm going on my alliterations, use alliterations, but thinking of words that begin with T, like trouble, point number 13, troubleshooting point number 14, and that kind of thing. But moving on to point number 15, as I said in part 1, I'd love to support autistic people with their ambitions, whether that's in business, banking, tech, YouTube, TikTok, or any other areas. Again, I mentioned in part 1 about like how autistic people could use YouTube, TikTok, and other things to fundraise, maybe if they can monetize their channels to fund autistic businesses or things like that, and also learn to invest together and support each other's goals, as I say, and support ambition. As I also mentioned in part 1 about how autistic people could network together on YouTube and TikTok. So subscribe to each other's channels, like each other's videos and things like that, and even atypical people generally. So if you see that mad YouTube here, like whatever, please support their channel. Talking about myself in the third person. But moving on with attempt to humour enough. But moving on, number 16. I'd love to see what talents autistic people have and how they can utilise those talents, and like a think tank for autistic empowerment. One day I'd love to talk about an autistic empowerment plan, for instance, and that kind of thing. Number 17. I normally think of like imaginations. So I thought, I know I talked yesterday about like what could you imagine if there was like an autistic millionaires network, and if there was an autistic billionaires network, or even autistic trillionaires network in the future. Like it's often said that Elon Musk could be the first trillionaire, and also he's supposedly autistic. But in the future, especially with tech, who knows, they could be autistic trillionaires in the future, maybe, or trillionaires generally. Some of them could be autistic, especially as tech is a field where many people who either have autism or potentially have autism or are speculated to have autism, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, people like that, and maybe many others are said to be autistic. I'll say, sorry, I'm trying to get my English right, as usual. But yeah, I'd love to have like 10% of the equity of those things and then give them away to my 5 causes, which I love to focus on. But I'm not going to get them in too much detail now. But I'd say I like to use my imagination and imagination is plural, and imagine a scenario. Like I say, if there was in the future, I would talk about like an autistic millionaires network, an autistic billionaires network, and even an autistic trillionaires network. Think of my imaginations and words that with T, as I say. Talking of imaginations, I'm going a little bit off topic, but I was thinking, again, football. Normally I like to talk about on Football Friday, but I know I talk about football a lot during the week normally. But I was thinking, I wasn't sure whether to include this, but I hope that I'd love for Italy to get back into World Cup, to possibly taking Iran's place, although the reason why and the scenario does feel a bit bad, but it would be pretty cool as an Italian fan. Although I love for what's best for humanity and animals and nature and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to see Italy taking Iran's place. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure where to say in the intro, probably should have said in point number 13, but Leicester, where I grew up, Leicester City, LCFC, Leicester City Football Club, the city I grew up in, which is very diverse. I guess the main reason why I like that is not just because I grew up there, but more so because it's a very diverse place. I'm not normally that patriotic, but just because I grew up in England or live in England, it doesn't mean that I support England or whatever. I'm not that patriotic, but because Leicester is quite diverse, I like to see them do well. I joke about being mixed race, so I say like I support Italy in spite of like their imperialism and racism, but normally I prefer more diverse places. I suppose Birmingham is another one which is quite diverse. Even their football hooligans are really diverse. They're like half of them are black and half are white or whatever. Not that I encourage stuff like that, but Birmingham is very diverse as well. But yeah, Leicester unfortunately got demoted, relegated, whichever term you want to use, same thing. And they say obviously it's 10 years since Leicester won the league, but and since then won the FA Cup, but now gone all the way down, unfortunately, into Division 1. But I hope they can get up straight away. The worrying thing is people say the finances aren't so good for Leicester, so they could even be at risk of going bust, heaven forbid. I think there should be something in football which gives a place where a football club can't go bust. There should be some sort of safety net. Incidentally, I was watching something about a person who goes by the name Stuntpeg, who is, funny enough, of Italian descent, who talks about football, and it was talking about how autism affects her commentary. But I might want to talk more about that on Football Friday, that kind of thing. But yeah, I hope Leicester can get back and also get loads of funding. I was thinking, what if the Leicester Mercury and local businesses funded Leicester? I hope other teams in England don't do that, though. That should be a bit more secretive of my ideas, perhaps. But I wonder what the local council and city, the local politicians and council, MPs and whatnot, politicians and whatnot in that area, in that county, not just in the city, but in the county, can do to legally, as long as they do it within the rules and work with FIFA and UEFA and the FA and whatnot, what they can do to help the club. We're struggling at the moment. What could they do to help the club financially, again within the rules, as long as they don't fall foul of any of those rules? But it doesn't affect me as much as Italian football and Celtic, to be honest. But I do like to see LCFC do well because I grew up there, that kind of thing. Again, diverse teams, diverse cities, and counties and whatnot. I'd love to see Roma challenge Wayson, off topic, I know, but I do wonder if those are like my potentially autistic or ADHD imaginations or dyslexic imaginations. In the past, I always thought it was dyslexic imaginations, but perhaps it is, or thoughts or ideas or whatever, or maybe everyone's got ideas, I guess. But yeah, also I hope Man City wins the league, not Arsenal, because my mate's an Arsenal fan. I normally have certain words for them which I'm not going to repeat right now. Something to do with their name, or the beginning of their name, the first part of their name. But anyway, as in Arsenal. I'm going to move on to point number 18. So I was thinking like football this season, again going a little bit off topic, but has been quite, I know I like to talk about the thoughts in my mind, but normally I do try and stick to the topic. But yeah, this year football-wise has been one of possibly the worst, like Italian football. I know it's been going downhill for quite a while, but Italy failing to qualify for the World Cup again for the third time in a row, which is a record, I suppose, for any major country, for any major nation. And then Arsenal being top of the league, and also Celtic struggling as well, potentially Arts or the Rankers potentially winning the league. And Leicester getting relegated, so it's I'd say where I grew up, so it's not been the best. But hopefully somehow those things can turn around. Hopefully they can still win a double, and hopefully they can be reinstated into the World Cup. I was thinking like 21 again because it was the 21st technically when I wanted to make this video, but for these series of videos. But yeah, going back to autism, I think of like Autism's Got Talent, Autistic's Got Talent, rather, which I talked about in part 1, and look at the positive sides of autism and what autistic people can do for things like Italian football, like Torino, for Celtic in Scotland, and also for different things like how autistic people can use their unique thinking styles to benefit tackling poverty, benefit foundations, charities, philanthropic endeavours and that kind of thing. So even though I'd love to create, to make or create, set up or whatever, an autistic millionaires network, an autistic billionaires, or even autistic trillionaires network in the future, I'd love for that network to donate a lot to charity. And if I had 10% of the equity, the more money that made, the more I'd be able to give to charity personally as well. Number 19, autistics in tech. I'd love to find out more about autistics or that are in tech and how to support autistics in tech. And number 20, that includes in developing nations like parts of Africa especially. It'd be great to see what autistic people could contribute to African tech, and hopefully again that will change the perception of autism. And as ever, if you have any ideas, if you've made this far, I'd really love to read from your comments. As I say, hear from you, but read from you if I take it literally. But anyway, on that note, I'm out in peace and love. If you want to do a reaction video to this, if you made this far, I'd welcome that. If you want to comment, I appreciate likes, sharing the video. If you want to do a reaction video or clip anything from my video, you're welcome to do so. And to keep the video alive, so to speak. It's not alive, but to keep it alive, and also to, I'll say not literally, but also to help it to spread to more people. But anyway, I'm out.